Now I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. I have plenty of students in my class that don't work. Well, plenty. I would say in each class, I probably could definitely count maybe 3 students that no matter what I do, I just cannot get from them on a consistent basis effort. I just can't, no matter what I try. However, there are certain things that have helped me, at least to motivate them for a little bit while, or even for the students to come to the borderline to motivate them. But I'm gonna be honest, there's gonna be some students, no matter what you try, you're not gonna see the results you're looking for. Doesn't mean you don't try, doesn't mean you give up, but just kind of be honest with yourself that that is gonna be the reality of teaching. But what about the students that you think you can make a difference with? Now, how does that saying go? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So true. But I'm sure you heard the adaptation to that. Yeah, you're right. You can't make it drink, but you can do everything in your power to make it thirsty, so hopefully it will drink. And so that's the goal of these techniques, is to put a little bit of pressure on the students to open that door up, so hopefully they will walk through it. So here are some things I do in my classroom to motivate those students that usually are not motivated. I start with this question. I used to ask them, hey, what grade do you want in this class? Well, almost every student always says an A or B. Even if they have straight Fs across the board, they always say A's or B's, right? Because that's what they've been conditioned to say. And so I don't ask that question more. Instead, what I ask is this. I ask, what is the lowest grade you can get in this class and be happy? Because that actually forces them to think a little bit more. It's a rephrase, it's rephrasing that question and reframing it. And so that actually makes them think a little bit. And they actually think, huh. And they'll tell me a grade. I said, now that's the lowest you're going to be happy. Well, they're like, actually, and usually the truth comes out from that. The ones that are really, just aren't putting the effort in, they'll be honest. They'll say, I really don't care. Or they might say C, right? But it gives me an idea where their motivation is at. And then my response to them is this. Hey, I can't force you to do anything, but I'll be honest with you. My goal in this class is to help you get to that grade that you want. So when you're ready to work, you let me know, and I'll do everything I can to get you to that grade. All right? So that sets the foundation for it. But once again, not all the students respond to it, but it's worth trying. And here's some other things I do. And once again, each situation is different. Each student is different. I mean, oh my gosh, each student has their own motivation or a lack of motivation. But once in a while, I'll say there might be these 2 students that I'll call them friends, right? Friends, and they kind of distract each other a little bit, and both of them really aren't doing the work like they should. And if it feels right, and I usually am pretty good, you can get a pretty good feel for it. I'll go up to them. I'll say, hey guys, here's the deal. We have a little bit of contest between just you two. Just you two. We're gonna have this little contest, and here's what the contest is gonna be. Out of you two, whoever gets the lowest grade this class period will have to stay for a detention. Nothing big, a small little 5-10 minute detention. Nothing big, but the lowest grade out of you two will have to serve a detention with me. And they're like, what? And they'll start kind of panicking a little bit. And then I tell them as they're going along, I'll say, you know what, I'll even sweeten the deal for you. If that you both do actually good this period, then none of you will have detention. But out of you two, whoever gets the worst will. And usually what happens, I'll see them both work harder than they have done before. Partly because of that fear of, detention, but mainly it's that competition thing with a friend. And so it actually turns out really good. And more often than not, at the end, they both maybe get like a C. I'm like, hey, you know what? Good enough for me. None of you have detention. So I'll try that a few times with a couple of students just to kind of get that spark going. It's not a long-term plan, but it's one of the little things I do to hopefully break down those walls. A third thing would be part of the conversation with them. If I notice a student hasn't been working, I'll probably go up to them the first time and say, what's the lowest grade? We'll have that talk, right? But let's say, some time has passed and they're still not working. And I'll kind of go up to them. I'll say, hey man, I understand. I see you're not doing the work, and I'll be honest with you, like we had this talk, it doesn't bother me any. I mean, I'm here to help you. I can't force you to do anything you want to. I just want to make sure I got to do my part. I got to call home and let them know what's going on, because I don't want to come back to me that, I just let you sit in class and do nothing. And so I'll tell them that I have to call home just because I got to cover my own little behind. But I asked the question, if I call home, will you get in trouble? And if they say yes, well, if they say no, then I'm like, oh, all right, that's probably why they're not doing the work, right? No incentive at home to do the work. And so I'll probably call home, just kind of cover my behind. But if they say, oh, I will get in trouble, I'm like, you know what, I'll tell you what, I don't want you to get in trouble. My goal is not to get in trouble. My goal is just kind of, like I said, cover my behind. So I'll make a deal with you. If you start doing some work and getting your grade up, then there'll be no need for me to call home and we're all good. So is that something you can do? And they'll usually say yes. And then what you'll see is you see a little bit of action on their part. Once again, it's not a miracle, but you'll usually will see some progression at that point in time. And if you're a teacher, I'm sure you came across this one, they just don't have the supplies. Now, if they don't have the supplies, I try to dig a little deeper into why they don't have supplies. My first response is, hey, if you don't have it, you can't do the work, you get a bad grade. And I usually might do that 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 times, just so they get the message that they're going to be responsible for doing the work in the class. But during that time period, you start to get a feel for why maybe they don't have supplies. If they don't have supplies, it's because they are irresponsible and just because they don't want to do the work. Once again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So you might give them the supplies, all they're going to do is lose them. They're going to lose my pencil, break it, whatever else they might do, And so I'll dive a little deeper into it, try to find out really what's going on. And if they really do care, it could maybe they don't have supplies because they can't afford it, nothing carry it, or maybe they are a little flaky that way. And so what I'll do at that point in time is I'll try to work a system. I'll say, hey, just between you and me, here's what we're going to do. And maybe I might have an area in the room where they might keep their work at, or they might keep a pencil or some paper at. I also have a lost and found. This is my little go-to here. It's a lost and found I have in my room. But once in a while, what I do is I stock that up with paper and pencil. And so if they ask me, hey, do you have paper and pencil? My answer is no. You got to come prepared, but check lost and found, there might be some there, and usually there's some there. So that's kind of way around that one. So I want to make it a little bit more challenging for them so they know that they have to take on some responsibility and they can't just come to every class as a paper and pencil. But if they do need it and they are really trying to make an effort, I usually work with them and accommodate them. But that's another thing you do to hopefully try to motivate them to do a little bit better in your class. So those are 4 things that you can apply to students that are struggling to stay motivated. But honestly, you usually have about 90% of students that are motivated, or at least partially motivated, and you just got to give them that little extra push. And so what I do to kind of move that 90%, to keep that 90% on task, is I do several different things. One is I try to let them know at the end of each class period what grade they earned for that day. So a lot of times we'll do an assignment. Let's say we do notes. And they'll count their points of the notes at the end of the class period. And then I'll tell them, all right, these many points equal this grade. So that way they have immediate feedback on the effort they put into that class. So knowing that a lot of times encourages them to do a little bit better, or do more work, because they know they're going to see what grade they earned that class period. It won't be a mystery to them. So that's one thing I do to kind of move that 90% in the right direction. Another thing I do is I try to make sure they know when different tests are coming up. And the reality is I pretty much have to tell them every single day, hey, your test is going to be next Tuesday. And the next day comes, your test will be next Tuesday, right? So you have to keep reminding them over and over again. I teach 8th graders, and these 8th graders sometimes don't remember that much detail. And so reminding them, put it on the board somewhere. Any little things kind of help a little bit. It's like throwing mud on the wall. You just have no idea what's going to stick. And so you just keep throwing the mud with hoping that some of it sticks in their brain. But just kind of let them know when different things are coming up. And then the other one, and it always seems to happen, is as we get closer to the grading period, I swear students will come up to me and ask for makeup work. They'll try to work harder than they do in that last week before grades are out than they do the entire 8 weeks before. So I'm always trying to remind them, hey guys, report cards are coming out this day, you might want to do something, as another incentive to kind of make sure that 90% stays on task. Thank you for watching the video. If you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button or click on one of the other links.